We have to talk about the most hyped character in One Piece, Shanks, since his true identity and power have finally been revealed, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Smash that like button if you enjoy One Piece videos like this one and want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Nakam if you haven't already by subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss future One Piece videos and updates. You can help me reach my insane goal of reaching 2 million subs here on YouTube by clicking that one button, and I would be eternally grateful for that. Now thank you to today's sponsor, Marvel Strike Force Squad RPG. If you're like me, you grew up on Marvel cartoons like Spider-Man and even have a Spider-Man poster on your wall to this day. And in that case, Strike Force offers you a fun and epic way to keep the nostalgia alive in a contemporary gaming experience. The game allows you to be part of the most talked about franchise in pop culture. Immerse yourself in the Marvel universe and assemble your dream team and then go on epic adventures together. Think about it. You got characters you love that you grew up with, and now you can power them up in a fun RPG game. It's a dream come true for any Marvel fan. New players can unlock up to 17 characters in the first 30 days, including two of my favorites, Spider-Man and Deadpool. So happy I have them on my team. The fights and story are so exciting. This game is definitely on another level when it comes to the cinematic way your favorite characters attack. I personally love watching Spidey use his webs to handle opponents. The visuals are stunning, and you get an engaging story too as you progress through the levels, making it feel like you're in your own Marvel movie alongside your favorite characters. I appreciate the strategy involved too, whether it's knowing when to heal your team or which villain to tag team first. Strategizing is definitely rewarded. So rather than rewatching the same show for the 4th time, this is a fun way to spend your free nights, strategizing, battling, and exploring the Marvel universe. Yes, it's a blast of a game, but it's also an entertaining adventure filled with characters you love, so it's ideal for your free time. Immerse yourself in the Marvel universe now, and for a limited time only, if you use the QR code or click the link in the description, you'll unlock exclusive characters for free by logging in. Celebrate the upcoming release of Marvel Studios' The Marvels by unlocking Captain Marvel for free. Also, if you're a huge Spider-Verse fan like me, you'll be glad to hear that Miles Morales is available too until December 31st. And the really cool touch is that along with the characters, you can even unlock your hero's favorite costume from Marvel movies, TV shows, comics, and more in this game. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and unlock these exclusive characters for free by logging in right now. And now, without further ado, let's jump into the epicness, spoilers and all. So since I made my hour-long video about Shanks over a year ago, we got a lot of new groundbreaking details to talk about, including seeing Shanks in action and his real identity, which proved a popular theory correct, as we're about to get into. During one of the most recent chapters, Chapter 1095 and beyond, we saw flashbacks of the God Valley incident where we know a 1-year-old Shanks was found by Roger in a treasure chest. Before we saw this flashback during Chapter 1086, we saw an old Figureland Garling, aka Saint Figureland Garling. Not only is he a celestial dragon, aka world noble, he was considered the champion of God Valley and the supreme commander of the God's Knights, who themselves enforce the law in Marijoa and rank above the Marines. In other words, they are powerful world nobles who can even punish the otherwise untouchable world nobles. Now, if you didn't watch the movie One Piece Red, you wouldn't have thought twice about the name Figureland. However, there was a big clue in that movie about Shanks. In the movie, the 5 elders say after finding out Uta is Shanks' daughter, that if she has Figureland blood, this won't be so easy. At the time, that implied Shanks was a Figureland. But since we didn't know much about that family, it wasn't that crazy of a bombshell. But with the reveal of Saint Figureland Garling, that tied Shanks to this man and implied that he was from one of the most powerful and high-ranking celestial dragon families. Perhaps this could have been Shanks' father, especially since he was at God Valley, as we'll see, but to be fair, it could also be an uncle or some other kind of relative. As if not wanting to leave any doubt about their close connection though, Oda gave us flashbacks of the God Valley incident where we saw a young Figureland Garling, and yes, he looks a lot like Shanks. And after taking all this into account, there can't really be much doubt anymore. Shanks is actually Saint Figureland Shanks, not just a celestial dragon, but from one of the top and most powerful celestial dragon families. Now, does that mean Shanks is loyal to the celestial dragons? Not necessarily. I'm not here trying to talk about Shanks' evil theories. Just look at Luffy and Garp, family members who can choose drastically different paths, and just because Shanks' relative chose to be a God's Knight and was a celestial dragon, doesn't mean he needs to be loyal to the God's Knights, just like Luffy doesn't have to be loyal to the Marines because his grandpa is a vice admiral. Yet it's also not so obvious that Shanks has nothing to do with the celestial dragons anymore, as we're about to get into. For instance, You don't see Luffy using Garp's connections to get an audience with the admirals or something like that, the way Shanks did with the Five Elders. But more on that later. So now that we know Shanks is Saint Figureland Shanks, it's time to look back at his character in light of this new discovery, because everything starts to make a lot more sense and to fall into place once we know this. I gotta hand it to Oda though. He did a good job of making Celestial Dragons in general such a hateable group of people, only to make everyone's favorite character Shanks a Celestial Dragon too. An ongoing thesis in One Piece is definitely that your circumstances at birth need not determine who you will become in the future, and Shanks is a great example of that. But back to chapter 1, where it all started, and I always thought that the scene where the Mountain Bandit acts like a big shot with Shanks was funny to Shanks and the crew because Shanks was so strong, even at the time. And that could still be a part of it, no doubt. But knowing what we know now, it also must have been hilarious because our dude was a Celestial Dragon while a nobody Mountain Bandit was throwing alcohol in his face and causing a mess for him to clean up. We didn't know then, but now we have a good understanding of Celestial Dragons. If anything, they act like the bandit in this situation, bullying, hurting, and even killing their slaves when they feel like it. And here you have a Celestial Dragon being nice and putting up with the injustice, even though he has the power and in this world all the right to kill this bandit. It's such a reversal of the usual Celestial Dragon versus non-Celestial Dragon relationship that you can't help but laugh at the bizarre situation. This is one of the things we love about Shanks, even more so now that we know the truth about him. He may have all the rights of the other Celestial Dragons as far as we know, and as we'll get to in this video, but he refuses to exercise them in most situations and even goes out of his way to act subservient at times to avoid conflict with nobodies. Not because he fears conflict, but because he doesn't want to kill people unnecessarily. Now in most cases, as mentioned, he doesn't need to rely on his Celestial Dragon status, because to an extent, the name he's built for himself speaks volumes as well right now. He's currently the active Yonko with the highest bounty, and even before that, legends like Whitebeard were impressed by his and Mihawk's duels. But that's not to say he doesn't ever use his Celestial Dragon status to his advantage. We know the Red Hair Pirates attacked a government ship with the now known to be Sun God Nika fruit, and took the fruit before Luffy ate it. Perhaps Shanks' Celestial Dragon status helped him learn about the truth about that fruit in the first place, because obviously not everyone knows it, and perhaps it helped him discover that the fruit would be on that ship at that time as well. Seems more likely to me than assuming it's all a coincidence. And the reason we know that yes, he does rely on his Celestial Dragon privileges at times is because of that crazy Marijoa meeting with the Five Elders. No other pirate, let alone Yonko, could probably get such an audience, let alone at that time, and be allowed to leave after that. So what they say when Shanks shows up is the following, and I quote, "What do you want? Why would you come all this way? This is the Reverie. Given your standing, you should have nothing to do with politics. We only arranged this time on your request," end quote. Then Shanks replies, and I quote, "I appreciate that," end quote. Then they ask to hear what he has to say. They even tell the guards to leave them alone, which is crazy if you think about it. And then it's revealed that it's Shanks, and he's come saying he needs to talk to them about a certain pirate. So think about how crazy this all is. He was a Yonko, and during the Reverie, the Elders met with him because he requested it. Now we know that the Elders are strong fighters. We saw some of Saturn's crazy abilities recently during the Egghead arc. So it's clear that they didn't just agree to this meeting because Shanks is strong and forced them to. And you can tell that by Shanks' respectful tone as well. They did it because Shanks is a Celestial Dragon. It makes so much sense in retrospect. And clearly, Shanks knows how to play the role of a Celestial Dragon when needed to, because he is respectful to them. While he tried to get Marco to join his crew in front of Whitebeard, he shows respect to the Elders, saying, "I appreciate that." Now, of course, I refuse to consider that Shanks is a traitor that's working with the world government, so chances are he's just using his role and status to his favor. After all, why would a traitor steal the Nika fruit from them and let Luffy get away with eating it? And it's more than just his Celestial Dragon status. His Figureland status must give him extra privileges, as we'll see when we get back to Figureland Garling. Chances are, he just wanted to see if he can use the world government to help him deal with their combined enemy Blackbeard, who seems to be following in Zebek's footsteps, wanting to be the new king of the world. Obviously something that the world government wouldn't be cool with. Then of course, there is Shanks' most famous moment that we need to talk about. The time he came to Marineford to end the Paramount War, the craziest, most star-studded war we've seen to date. Shanks shows up and effortlessly saves Kobe from Admiral Sakazuki, then proclaims that he's come to put an end to this war. Others are shocked that after his recent scuffle with Yonko Kaido yesterday, he's already here. Of course, before the Celestial Dragon reveal, we attributed all this to people fearing Shanks and his power. And of course, Shanks is super powerful. We know about the Mihawk duels and making Kaido turn back, and we'll see his insane power in action later on in this video as well. But would that have really been enough to make the government obey him? Keep in mind, it's not a good look at all for the world government to kowtow to a pirate. It's much more believable that his Celestial Dragon status played a role in the sway he exercised over the world's strongest organization. Sakazuki says, "Blast you red-haired. You let Dragon Son escape." And Kuzan and Kizaru are present too. After a last attempt to hit Luffy, not Shanks, mind you, Kizaru says, "If they're still alive after that, we'll have to give up and just say they got lucky." But why? Why do 3 admirals in the world's strongest and ruling organization have to give up? Other than because of the fact that Shanks is a Celestial Dragon and outranks them. Despite how upset Sakazuki is, he uncharacteristically doesn't go after Shanks. He'd go after Whitebeard, the so-called strongest man in the world, but not after Shanks. So you can't say it's just because he fears Shanks' power. Sakazuki is one who respects the hierarchy even if he doesn't like it, and he knows he can't go after Saint Figureland Shanks, of all people. And then of course, it ends when Fleet Admiral Sengoku also agrees to end the war like Shanks said. But think about it, we had Sakazuki, Kuzan, Kizaru, Sengoku, and Garp there, among others, and perhaps the elders could come as backups if needed. Not to mention the Holy Knights. One can't just assume that Shanks' power was the reason they kowtowed to his demand in retrospect. But when you think about his Figureland Celestial status, then the pieces start to fall into place. On the pirate side though, yeah, I do think Blackbeard was just not ready to deal with his strength. Even during chapter 1055, after Green Bull has been so hyped up, he just leaves when Shanks wills him to do it, saying, "Look, I'm not picking a fight with you guys, not yet. Fine, fine," end quote. And he just leaves. Keep in mind, I don't know if Green Bull knows Shanks is a Celestial Dragon. We don't know how many people would have that information, but we do know that Oda revealed through an SBS that Green Bull agrees with Sakazuki's principles of never holding back when battling enemies. And we do know that he believes the world nobles truly are gods. So an easy way to reconcile him immediately retreating after a pirate asked him to is that he knows of Shanks' Celestial Dragon status. Then there's the fight against the Kid Pirates, the first time we really saw Shanks' true power in action. And oh boy was it impressive and embarrassing for the other side. Yeah, we heard of the Mihawk duel, but we never saw it. Keep in mind, Kid is coming off of a big W here. He helped beat Yonko Big Mom, and he was given a Yonko level bounty as a result. It's equal to Yonko Luffy's at 3 billion berries. That's about 75% of Shanks' bounty, and after what happened with Big Mom, you may expect Shanks to at least spend some time fighting before he wins. After all, this is a show where it's normal to fight for days, if not longer. But no, Shanks uses his advanced observation haki to seemingly see 10 seconds into the future, and then acts quickly to finish Kid before Kid can release his devastating attack. He quickly closes the distance, and then with his attack Divine Departure, he one-shots Kid, ending a pirate with a 3 billion berry bounty and one who helped defeat Big Mom in seconds. Clearly, this shows Shanks is well above Big Mom's level and reaffirms that you can't take bounty numbers as a sign of strength. Obviously, most of us knew this, but like I said, this just confirms it. After all, Big Mom had a higher bounty than Shanks's, and it's clear that Shanks could have destroyed her in battle. I mean, he even made the so-called strongest creature in the world turn back while he continued on to the Paramount War himself. If that doesn't imply he was even stronger than Kaido, then I don't know what does. And Shanks' power is not surprising when we see what his potential dad, or at least relative, is capable of. Saint Figureland Garling is immediately set up as being strong, as he is the supreme commander and thus likely the strongest of the God's Knights. Although with him too, we may have a Garp and Whitebeard-like decline, meaning he's not at his prime anymore. But his prime was definitely impressive. Back when he looked like Shanks and was drooled over because of his good looks, he became the champion of God Valley. And we recently saw during the God Valley flashback that he started the competition at a disadvantage. From the beginning, he was established as the clear favorite, with another competitor stating, "I won't let you win, Garling," end quote, clearly knowing that he's the biggest competition. Garling even takes the life of the king of God Valley prematurely. They say because of this, he'll start with minus 10,000 points. Garling is completely unfazed by this though, saying that should be a good handicap for the other contestants. Does this not give off Shanks vibes right here, considering that Shanks was fine with losing his arm to a mere sea beast? Like with Garling, I think it's clear that Shanks was confident that this wouldn't make a difference for him, and he too probably thought that it should make a good handicap for the other contestants trying to go after the One Piece. And although we didn't get to see what happened later, we did see that Garling didn't even break a sweat when he found out that people like the Roger Pirates were coming. All he said was, "Marines fall back and protect the Celestial Dragons, Holy Knights are with me," end quote. Like Garp, the Roger Pirates, and the Rocks Pirates, it's hard to believe Garling and his Holy Knights didn't play a significant role in this fight as well. Clearly, Garling made it out, and with the status of Champion of God Valley, so despite the fact that he wasn't mentioned by name like Garp and Roger when the God Valley incident was discussed before, he probably did play a meaningful role, which is saying a lot when you're dealing with so many big players. Since the Rocks Pirates are constantly being hyped up more and more, and since every time we see them, Oda only reveals more legendary pirates that were on the crew, I wouldn't be surprised if Garp, the Roger Pirates, and Garling and the Holy Knights teamed up to finally stop them. After all, we saw during chapter 1096 that Garling was in the thick of it. So in a series where strong characters usually have strong fathers, or at least relatives, think Zoro for that one, it's not surprising that Shanks does too. There's no longer a doubt that Shanks is related to Figureland Garling. Garling's young looks confirm it, while in truth even the elders' comments about Shanks' daughter having Figureland blood made it pretty obvious as well. So we know now for certain, after all those years of theories, that Shanks is in fact a Celestial Dragon. He is Saint Figureland Shanks. And like his probable father before him, he is incredibly strong, probably even stronger than Garling, just like I'm sure Luffy and Zoro will surpass their ancestors too. And as we saw, that huge Shanks reveal also sheds new light on all of Shanks' previous iconic moments. Everything makes more sense now, and in a lot of ways, we can appreciate some of those moments even more now that we know Shanks' true identity. After all, what other Celestial Dragon, let alone a high-ranking one, would allow a weak mountain bandit to humiliate him and then just laugh it off? Whereas in contrast, he would get respect from the Five Elders. With Shanks and now Bonnie recently as well, Oda has definitely proved that being part Celestial Dragon doesn't automatically mean you're going to be a terrible person, even if as a whole, they remain one of the most hated groups in One Piece. Now, if the other Yonko interest you too, including the Yonko that even the mighty Saint Figureland Shanks fears, then you won't want to miss my All Yonko and Their Powers Explained video, link on screen right now. Like and subscribe to help me achieve my shonen level dream of 2 million subscribers here on YouTube, and I'll see you in the next one.